Will Hell Let Loose be the next World War II shooter to die? Well, looking at these player numbers, the situation doesn't look great, and to be blunt, the next few months will be crucial for Hell Let Loose's very survival. But the devs have recently announced a huge shift in priorities, and for the first time ever, they aren't all bad ideas. Don't worry, this won't be a line-by-line review of the gigantic developer update, but right now, the devs are fighting to keep Hell Let Loose alive. So we'll start with the most immediate issues that need resolving now to stabilize player numbers in the near term. Then, secondly, based on feedback from the community, we'll analyze and discuss the medium to long-term priorities that would get Hell Let Loose back on the road to victory. And throughout the video, we'll reference what the devs have had to say about these priorities, if anything at all. Needless to say, we have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get started. Please like and subscribe, etc, etc. For those not up to speed, here's a 30-second update before we dive into the rest of the video. When Team 17 first came on the scene in February 23, their priorities simply did not align with those of the community. Their initial roadmap was utterly unrealistic, game performance has been made worse rather than better, and all while increasing the price of the game and giving us an in-game store that nobody asked for. However, due to a backlash of epic proportions, the dev team have postponed the release of new content so they can finally address the long-standing issues. But is it too little, too late? The race is on to stop the game spiraling out of control and joining post-scriptum in the games that had potential graveyard. So what should be at the top of the devs list of priorities? The grenade bug and the loadout bug seem like a good place to start. They are, for many of us, the long-standing symbolism of a developer who prioritizes new, game-breaking content over quality of life improvements and performance. It's true that at first, Team 17 did acknowledge these bugs, but basically said, "Whoa, yeah, those two bugs really suck, don't they? Seem quite tricky to fix though, so reckon we'll just leave them. But look at this shiny new content we've just released that's further deteriorated your system performance." These two bugs have been around for years, and I'm sure are very difficult to resolve, but that's exactly what makes them the perfect first stop on the road to redemption, to prove Team 17 have realigned their priorities with the Hell Let Loose community. Although initially they looked destined to repeat the errors of the past, all of a sudden they're making progress on both of these bugs. They even think they've cracked the grenade bug and will release an update to fix it soon. Look, I appreciate many of you may not have even experienced these two bugs lately, but as I said, it's about what they represent. And I truly believe that if they can crack these two bugs, that means they can sort all of the historic issues. And if they can do that, then bugger me, we've got some hope here, lads. Next up, we have some desperately needed changes on console. Frankly, I feel sorry for you guys, as it seems the game was rushed out onto console, then just kind of forgotten. Time and again, I hear the same requests. Console desperately needs a server browser and better optimization. Now, the devs have said on a few occasions that the console version of the game simply wasn't designed with a server browser in mind, all to do with cross-compatibility. I hate to say it, but this is like the grenade and loadout bugs. It may well be difficult to do, but the developers don't have a choice. It's the most requested feature for console players. They just have to get their heads down and get on with delivering it. There's no immediate solution in sight, but Team 17 have said they're looking into it. Another crucial element to this battle to stabilize Hell Let Loose's condition is the lack of game tutorial. New players come into this game and chances are they've never played anything like it before, so they try to play it like COD or Battlefield. Well, unless someone tells them otherwise, of course they're going to do that. And this bunch of text in a subsection of the main menu is simply pathetic. At this point, I don't care if they just copy and paste what Squad have done, but just knock together an in-game tutorial with specific sections showing you how resource nodes work, how to be an engineer, how to be a squad leader, how to be a commander, and above all, constantly hammer home the importance of communication with your squad and the people around you using a mic. Just put something together. I'll fucking voice act it for free if you want someone that sounds like a posh 1940s twat. I don't care at this point, just give us a damn tutorial. But what have the devs said? A tutorial has been on the roadmap for a while now, and a quote, basic training environment was at least mentioned in the dev's latest update. However, there is nothing concrete here, and my fear is that we'll end up with a halfway house, some text and some videos, rather than a hands-on in-game tutorial, but only time will tell. This next one is arguably not as important as the others, but I see it as a quick win that also shows the devs are serious about sticking to the core values of the game. Give the soldiers in North Africa the appropriate uniforms. This one doesn't need much introduction or explanation. It just seems like such an unnecessary error that it's just best to deal with as soon as possible, and the devs have said they're on it. But we'll see how long this one takes. It would be a shame to still be complaining about this in 6 months' time. And finally, before we get into the more long-term priorities, we have general optimization. It's true that from day one, Team 17 have been focused on bug fixes and performance issues. But the majority of bugs and performance issues they were fixing had only recently been introduced by dodgy updates. There's a huge difference between fixing bugs that have annoyed players for years and fixing bugs that you created 5 minutes ago. Stop releasing new content and fix the problems that we already have. But there's a bigger picture to this. The key here is accessibility. We all want a well-optimized game, but it's those with the lower-end systems that suffer the most. And I've seen many players simply give up with Hell Let Loose because the performance was bad for them 12 months ago, but since then it's only gotten worse. Improving that optimization across the board will bring those players with lower-end systems back into the fold, and will help to retain more players both on console and PC, who right now might be about to throw in the towel if the performance doesn't improve soon. Admittedly, this is a mammoth task. The devs have said they are working on optimization, but whether they are prioritizing the parts that will make the most difference to us remains to be seen. Resolving all of the issues mentioned so far would achieve several things. Some will be quick wins, and others will take time, so they should get started now. Some make a statement of intent to help regain trust. Others simply make the game we already have better. So if resolving those issues as quickly as possible would stop the game hemorrhaging players, what does the community want in the medium to long term that might increase the Steam review rating and ultimately get us back on track? Well, from discussions with you guys, here's the list, including what the devs have said on these areas, if anything. Because it's such a hot topic right now, next up is running speed, and boy oh boy has this kicked up a fuss. So they increased the running speed, now they've decreased the running speed, but it's not as simple as faster is bad and the original speed was good. Believe it or not, increasing the running speed was one of the most requested features not long ago, and the main criticism that stops new players sticking with Hell Let Loose is that it's a running and dying simulator. Increasing the running speed was a good idea, they did it for the right reasons, but it was the unintended side effects on everything around it that was the problem. Being able to run faster than a tank, and being able to dodge bullets because you can sprint and turn on a dime, those are the real issues. Tanks need to be faster, and zigzagging more than a bad Spice Girls cover to dodge bullets clearly isn't right. Speeding up tanks is clearly one answer, and the devs have said that's not easy because the physics of the tanks means speeding them up literally sends them flying. To that, all we can do is shrug and say, well, get on with fixing that then. But it's clear to see that this one will take time to fix. And it's a similar situation with dive to prone. Included for the right reasons, but too easily abused, we need less bullet dodging and diving like Max Payne or The Matrix, and more consideration of real-life circumstances like the devs over at Squad did with their latest updates. It sounds like this one may be reworked sooner than later and brought back in a near-future update, and it'll be interesting to see how Dive to Prone version 2.0 fits in with the rest of the game. Long-term, each map needs a refresh. As we've already said, they need to deal with optimizing the worst offenders on each map, as there are specific assets that massively decrease performance. But going beyond that, each map needs an overhaul. Some of the assets in these maps are so old these days, but not just that. we could be working towards including destructible environments, one piece at a time, which would be absolutely awesome, and the devs have confirmed this is in their plans. Also, each update to the maps should keep in mind a future upgrade to Unreal Engine 5. Again, the devs have said they're looking at this, and whatever happens, it'll be a huge undertaking. But surely there are elements of each map that can be updated piece by piece that would make the transition to Unreal Engine 5 easier when the time comes. Like I said, we need to think ahead. While map refreshes can happen piece by piece, there does need to be something grand in the works for us to get excited about, and here's just the thing. The next big update should be a complete overhaul of how armor works. This could coincide with sorting out the sprint speed. It could remove ridiculous situations with tanks where shells explode because a leaf got in the way, or your whole crew drown in 3 inches of water. Armor has so much potential, but needs to be improved in a big way, and this would also affect the infantry, as the two should always be looking to work together. This is a huge subject on its own, but as a general principle, I'm confident in saying that the next big update for this game should be armor. I'm also a big supporter of the idea that only light tanks should be available at the beginning of the game, with medium then heavies locked behind a timer, so they only make an appearance later in the match. Just thought I'd throw that in there too. Bipod placement is something else that just needs to be sorted, but previously all we've heard is how it's basically impossible to fix. I'm sure this would tie in with the map reworks, as this is ultimately about interacting with the environment. I'm sure it would be a slow process, as much as it pains me, but again, the devs have said they're looking at it now, and I hope they find a solution by the end of 2023. We shall see. Moving on, it looks like we have a game store that nobody asked for, so we may as well discuss what it should contain. The answer appears to be surprisingly obvious. Historically accurate items. That would be like crack cocaine to us lot, but only make it available on the relevant map. No winter uniforms in the deserts of Africa, please. You've seen how offended we are when historic accuracy is wrong. Imagine what we'd be like if you offered niche but historically accurate uniforms with a story behind them. They would sell like hotcakes. Nobody wants players in pink suits of armor riding a llama into battle, but cosmetics with a historically accurate story behind them that doesn't affect gameplay? That could be a very cool way to further support the game, while giving us something genuinely interesting in return. A change that's close to my heart is making the medic class more viable. The devs have said they have designs for medics to be able to drag wounded players, which is an interesting proposal. If they could make it such that any player could drag a wounded player so they can be brought back to a medic to be revived, I think that shows promise. It's a potential long-term solution. We'll just have to see. The meta in Hell Let Loose hasn't changed much since early access. I'm all for if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but the resource nodes, the spawning system, the point capture system, they all feel very early access now and could do with an update. Oh, and spawn points should be a vaguely defensible position, not a fucking table. Honestly, this list could go on, and please do pitch in with your suggestions in the comments below, but I thought I'd leave you with these two main themes. If I had to sum up all of the problems with Hell Let Loose, it's that the game still feels it's in early access in almost every way. Performance is dodgy at the best of times, basic quality of life elements such as a server browser aren't there. They need to spend time polishing the game. They've dumped a bunch of new content on us recently, and that's fine, but now is the time to take what we already have and make it work. Players would find that far more rewarding than yet another piece of broken content. The second element I'd like to leave you with is that mention of Unreal Engine 5. The previous developer simply dismissed that suggestion, but Team 17 appear to be looking into it. I'm sure it would be a horrifically complex exercise, but imagine a well-polished Hell Let Loose by the end of 2023. Then in 2024, we see some big releases such as the Winter War with a completely reworked armor system, Then at some point in the future, all of that World War II goodness is upgraded to Unreal Engine 5 to future-proof it. Now that is what I call a long-term plan. But now it's back to reality. I'm going to log on now and play a game or two. I'll keep changing squads until I find players that want to work together, and I'll just hope the experience isn't too janky. There are so many other great suggestions I've heard that could have made it into this video, but please leave yours below, and I look forward to catching up with you all in the comments. See ya.